Hey everyone, I'm Follygon, and in today's video I have a speed sculpt for you of the character Jasmine. You can download her for free from my Gumroad up in the top right hand corner of this page. You can use it for whatever you want, giving me money is not required, and it doesn't get you anything exclusive. Ooh, and before I disappear, make sure you click that subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already. New videos are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, don't forget. And there's some new kind of streaming intermingled in there as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. So like I was saying before, these streams are kind of random right now, but what you're watching right now was done on our secret live stream number 2, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But myself and my roommate did a couple live streams. We didn't tell anybody that we were going to be doing them, but some people kind of snuck in anyway and found us out, which is kind of funny. But then towards the end of that second one and for my most recent stream, I did post that I would be doing it, and we got some more people in there because of that. But yeah, that's just kind of a random occurrence, at least for the time being. I'm kind of thinking it's more of a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday kind of off day kind of thing. So the main videos are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then that kind of content will be the kind of backstage view of what's going on behind the scenes kind of deal, you know, on off days. So what you're seeing right now, like I said, was at least partially done live on stream. So if you are interested in that kind of content, you can kind of be on the lookout for that. So you can get in and ask questions in real time while I'm working and kind of learn that way. But from here, I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about my thought process here, because now I'm doing something a little bit different. So in my live stream, I was talking about how I like to do things a different way, like almost every time I'm trying to do something, and that's kind of true with these lips here. I do it in a similar fashion where I kind of split the lower jaw, but instead I give it kind of this like bow curved shape, the bow of the upper lip, and then I just like smooth it out and use like a trim brush on it ever so lightly to give it its basic shape and proportions. And it was like a really quick way for me to get that basic shape without too much more work. So from there, I just like merged it back in so that I could kind of mess with proportions a little bit and where it was going to be placed. Of course, with this kind of, I'm kind of trying to do my own sort of style here, as well as keep it true to the Disney Jasmine style, which is like very simplistic shapes, but at the same time, mine is maybe not quite as simplistic as that, so I kind of try to throw my own kind of details in there, kind of secondary shapes. You can see what I'm doing there with the lips, coming down from the nose to the corner of the lips. There's that kind of pinched in area. I started out with that shape, but you'll see me go back over that with a trim brush to kind of smooth that out and kind of give it more of a simplified shape. And here I am popping up on screen for a split second. I have a face cam now, and I don't really think that my face adds too much to the content that I produce, but you'll see me pop up on screen from time to time, maybe whenever I feel like it's necessary, but at least for the time being, I don't feel like having my face on screen 24/7 or at all times is going to really add anything to my content. So I'm messing with her necklace. For her necklace and her earrings and most of the jewelry, I'm just using kind of primitive shapes and then using that Z-Modeler brush, which is great for box modeling within inside of ZBrush. I love it. I use it all the time. You can really combine it with a lot of the crazy tools inside of ZBrush that it offers you, because everybody knows how much different ZBrush is from other 3D modeling programs. So using those tools to your advantage with inside of ZBrush, along with the box modeling Z-Modeler toolset, is just really powerful, and you can get a lot of different variations and shapes and everything that you're looking for pretty quickly, or at least in my opinion and my experience. So I'm still kind of blocking out the main shapes of the face. If you pay attention to what I'm doing, I start off with these like big kind of hard lines, and then from there I like to knock stuff down. And I've kind of talked about this before, but I'll say it again. I really enjoy kind of trying to exaggerate stuff and it kind of looks a little messy at first, and you can see it now, it's a lot more clean. But by working like this, I can kind of exaggerate it past a point, or what I think is past a point where it needs to be, and that can kind of help my brain realize that I need to knock it back, or it helps me kind of push my work farther by exaggeration. And I think that's kind of a good, at least initial process when you're working this way and when you're blocking in forms, is to try like big changes, big form changes, and try to try something new. The image that I pull up on screen through Lightbox, awesome tool. I've talked about how to use that in one of my past videos, so I won't do that in this one. But the image here is a concept by Miori. You can find a link to her work down in the description below. I used that as a reference, as well as the original kind of Disney art from the film of her, as well as some kind of cosplays and a bunch of different stuff, so that I can kind of get a lot of different views and angles, and then kind of put my own spin on it from there. At this point, I was struggling with getting the basic shapes of the hair, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with it at this point. You'll see me throw in some tubes and wrap them around the edge of the hair, and then I'll Dynamesh them in. It's essentially, I could have just inflated the edge of the hair, but by doing it through this method, I was able to get a lot more exact to what I was looking for. Anytime you're using primitives and low poly objects, you're gonna have a lot more control over that shape and that object, at least the big forms and the primary shapes, a lot more so than if you were to subdivide it a lot and try to go over that with an inflate brush. So I just found that this technique was a lot quicker for me. You can see me now Dynameshing that tube into the main hair, and then from there I like smooth out the transition that's happening between that edge, and I think it worked out pretty well. So that's kind of, like I said, I like to try new stuff, kind of just throw it on there and see what happens and go from there. So at this point I still haven't applied really any paint to my model. And that's kind of like a problem that I've been having lately. If you look at the eyes, those are painted. And the reason I try to paint those pretty quickly, or at least get a large pupil in there or something, is that it gives you a good reference point for what you're looking at. So for me, if I probably would have painted this face like a half hour earlier in my sculpt, I would have gotten done or gotten to a place I liked more faster than had I not, which is what I did do. I did not paint it as quickly as I would have liked to. So by adding that paint, by adding in those eyelashes, it helps give you a reference point for other parts of your image. So imagine if you sculpted an entire face, you sculpted the eyes, the nose, and the ears all on this beautiful face, and you waited till the very end until you did the lips. Well, it's gonna look a little weird, it's gonna look a little off, even though you know you're going to put those lips in there eventually, which is what I'm kind of doing here. I'm putting in that paint now, eventually. But the point is, by putting in that mouth, by adding your color, whatever it is, by kind of keeping everything at the same degree, the same level as you're going, through your image, through your sculpt, you're going to kind of be able to look at your image and reference it to what you're working on, and just kind of know how everything's supposed to work together. And that's not like a hard rule, that's not a hard limit. You can absolutely spend longer or shorter amounts of time on each thing. But what I'm trying to achieve by saying this and by doing this and practicing it is that it's best to block in every shape, everything in your sculpt, more so right away, and then kind of take everything to the next stage from there. So if you have like 10 parts, keep those all at stage 1 all at the same time, and then keep them all at stage 2 all at the same time, never taking anything to the next stage before you're done with everything there. So that's just kind of my advice and my workflow that I like to do. But of course there are benefits to kind of taking stuff further in different areas as well. You can see at this point that I have smoothed out the hair, and now I'm just trying to get some nice kind of S-curved shapes, which is kind of my catch-all phrase for make hair look better. And you'll probably hear me say that a lot. Hair is difficult, and Sculpting is difficult, and getting clean forms and shapes is not easy. So anything that you can do and learn and practice to get better at this kind of thing is great. So looking at hair is tough. I recently talked about hair in my most recent live stream. You can go check that video out. I have a playlist full of the past 3 or so live streams that I've done, the most recent out of those. It should be titled Hair, and I talk a lot about hair as I'm working on it in there. So looking at this hair, even just adding that black color to my hair makes this piece kind of come alive and come a lot more together than me keeping it as the same gray base color that I had the face at. And it's really interesting when you do this because, in my opinion, it's kind of like flipping your canvas if you're a 2D artist. It kind of lets you see your artwork in a new light, in a new way. If you've ever been drawing something in Photoshop or any other digital 2D painter, and halfway through you flip your canvas, all of a sudden, all this stuff that you didn't notice before sticks out to you. And the reason that is because your brain kind of gets used to it. And I think that's kind of what happens here. I get used to looking at the shapes and all the things that I've made, and my brain kind of gets used to it and I ignore it, which is bad because then it's not as good as it could be and I'm leaving terrible stuff in there that I shouldn't. Definitely flip your canvas, definitely try to throw new materials on your model, new colors even. All this stuff can kind of help bring it together and let you see your model or your 2D drawing or whatever you're working on in a new kind of perspective. So at this point I'm pretty much almost finished with my sculpt. The last few things that I'm gonna do here are minor adjustments, stuff like opening up the mouth and how I want to mess with that, as well as making a few slight changes to the forms using Transpose Master. I also make a little bit of changes to the face, just really subtle things as far as moving up the nose and the mouth a little bit, poking out the chin, adding a little bit of paint, as well as adding some detail to the necklace, just to make it a little bit more visually interesting. All these things are kind of, I wouldn't even call them tertiary details, they're more of just subtle changes that kind of bring it all together in the end. So hey, I know I said this at the beginning, but don't forget you can download this model for free from my Gumroad just by clicking that button in the top right of your screen or clicking the link down in the description. It's all free, you can use it for whatever you want, giving me money is not required, and doing so does not get you anything exclusive. So throw me $1 if you can, it helps, and if you can't, no worries, I'm just glad you're here. And with that, hope you learned something new, maybe got a little inspired, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Ooh, you see I wasn't recording that whole time. That's how you know you're really professional. Let's try this one more time.